monthly amortization, it really doesn't matter because there's no pay down on the principal. So collectively over the course of the year, it's just the same as it would be otherwise. In other words, you could, if you want to, you can say, well, my payment is going to be 5,000 divided by 12, or the number we got in that previous problem, which was on the interest. But this payment of $416.67 would be an interest-only payment. That would be the only dollar amount that you're paying on the loan. So if you sort of compare that to the previous example, you can see the appeal to the prospective borrower from the standpoint their mortgage payment is only going to be $416 a month. The downside of that is 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 30 years later, they have not reduced that $100,000 loan balance by a single dollar. So the assumption, and the big assumption behind the interest-only mortgages is that hopefully you're going to have price appreciation in the underlying asset, so that whenever you decide to sell the property, you're going to be able to obviously have enough proceeds from that sale to pay off that original loan amount. Well, that's great if the property appreciates in value. Not inherently a bad thing for you as the purchaser, because you've kept your payments low, but you haven't been gaining any equity in this deal. And the lender, in another, from their perspective, they're probably a little bit worried that you just walk away from the loan, because they're saying, well, not only maybe did they not make much of a down payment initially to get the loan, they haven't actually paid down any of the loan, therefore they have no real equity in the deal. So the borrower can pretty much just walk away from the deal, toss the lenders the keys, and there might be some repercussions in terms of obviously the lender being able to sue them, but the point is there's no real skin in the game on the part of the borrower. You as a potential borrower may want to do this just simply because you want to get the lower payment, whether it's, once again, on the business, on a commercial loan, or on a residential loan, but yet at the end of the day you've got to think about the trade-off of, well, just making that low payment versus obviously gaining equity in the property. Make sense?
Isn't that almost going to always be a better deal though? Because, I mean, every month you're only getting a 5% return on your principal that you're paying in.
I'm not saying it's not a good deal. I'm saying the problem is what happens if there's no price appreciation. There's a lot of risk.
But you're getting the cash flow today.
Yes, you're getting the cash flow today. I'm not arguing that it's a bad deal. I'm saying that it's a bad
for the lender.
Potentially, it's a really bad deal for the lender. This is why you don't see very many of these types of loans. But on the residential side, you would see a lot of these that they would, because they could get some sort of a government scheme to potentially back them up. And what would end up happening is these poor folks that would end up, taking on these loans, thinking, oh wow, my monthly payment's only going to be this, especially in overheated markets like California and to a certain extent South Florida, that where the values are in astronomical terms relative to the rest of the country, that you would have a lot of these interest-only loans sort of floating around out there. Yes, Barbara?
Aren't there mortgages that start interest only and then 20 years after begin to amortize?
Yes, you literally, and that's part of the reason why I kind of separate these things the way that I do, is all of them can be packaged together. That you can, it's kind of like a recipe book, that you've got all these different elements that you can potentially marry together to create this mortgage. But yeah, one type of mortgage, and that we're going to do after next week, is like a graduated payment mortgage, which is somewhat similar to what you're describing. But the idea behind it is you start out by giving the borrower really low mortgage payments, but then you step them up over time relative to maybe their borrowing capacity or their payment capacity. And you gotta say, well, why would you do something like that? Well, once again, it's all about, in a lot of cases, trying to originate those loans to earn those fees up front off of making those loans. And historically, the problem has been that you made those loans internally, and then you wanted to get rid of them as quickly as possible and sell them off into the secondary market so that you wouldn't be stuck with the repercussions of what may happen whenever 6 months, a year, 2 years later, that borrower is not able to make that higher payment, whatever it might be. Okay? Questions? Good? Okay? All right, let's do this. Let's go on to Excel. Okay, give you a little bit of a break from the calculator here for a second. And try to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, can you guys, I'll try to make that a little bit bigger even. Oops. All right. So let's just sort of start out up here. We'll just start with the loan amount. And we're going to go ahead and increase this a little bit here. So in column B, we'll put in $100,000. Okay. Interest rate. %. Term in years, we'll say 10. Okay. And then payment. Okay, so let's start with this. You guys see it in the back okay? Yeah. Okay. All right, so the first thing, let's kind of clean this up a little bit. In terms of, let's put some dollar signs on that. Then put a interest rate on that, kick the decimals out a couple of places. All right, now, to calculate our payment, we do equal PMT for payment, open parentheses, okay? And it tells you, once again, right below, specifically, what are the variables that we need to put in? We need to put in the interest rate, the number of periods, and the present value. And then the future value and the type don't matter to us for this calculation. All right? So we'll start out with the rate. If we put it in strictly as it, and we're going to do it two ways. So we're going to start out just by putting in the rate, comma, the number of periods, comma, and the present value. Now, what does that number represent? Annual. Okay? So if we want to make that on a monthly basis, we've got to change the formula accordingly. So we've got to go in to the B2 to the rate, divide it by 12, go over to the number of periods, multiply it by 12, and then we leave the loan amount or the present value alone. And so you should end up with 1060.66, which was the number that we had gotten in one of the problems that we just kind of worked through, trying to be consistent,
Can
okay?
you explain that just really consistent? Why would you multiply the terms in years by 12?
Okay, we've got to make the interest rate a monthly interest rate, and so to do that, we take it and we divide it by 12, which gets us down to effectively, that is on a month-to-month basis, that would be the interest rate. The term this is kind of like with the calculator, we've got to sort of say, all right, well, it's 10 years, it's on a monthly basis, so that's 120 payments.
I was confused, I was thinking,
Okay.
Can't you just divide the whole thing by 12?
No,
no.
because then it doesn't fully reflect the actual compounding that takes place over the course of that year on the individual payments. Okay? All right, so there's our monthly payment, and if we want to, we can make that a positive number by going in and putting a negative sign in front of the payment. All right? Okay, so that would be our standard, normal, fixed-rate mortgage. So let's do this. We're going to help you to construct an amortization schedule. All right? So in column A, period number, beginning balance, okay, payment amount, or just payment, and then interest, principal, in balance. Okay, does that look familiar to everybody? I mean, in terms of, you've seen the amortization schedule before? Okay, well, let's kind of, if it doesn't, if it's not clear right now, it will be. Okay, so we'll start off here, period number 1, our beginning balance. All we're going to do initially is we're going to go up here, we're going to hit equal, and we're going to go up and we're going to capture the $100,000. So equal B1 if you're using the same cells that I am. All right. Then the payment, you're going to just simply capture that 1060.66. Now, to get the interest portion for this first payment, what you're going to do a little bit of math. Do equal. Okay, first of all, is everybody where I'm at right now? Okay. You're going to do equal. You're going to go over here to beginning balance times open parentheses, and then you're going to go up and you're going to get the interest rate, cell B2, divided by 12. Close parentheses. And then boom, there's your interest for that first month. Okay?
Just go on it one time so I can see the thing. Do the same thing over the payment, the original one, please.
The original payment or the
original one, yeah. Oh, negative payment.
okay?
Hold on, just hold on for a real quick. Okay.
Okay. So we come back down here to the interest, and once again to make it pretty, we'll just we'll click on the dollar sign there, get it into a nice dollar form. Okay. Now then, for the principal, you're going to do equal payment minus interest. Boom. 643.99. Okay, it's just column C minus column D. Okay. All right. And the ending balance, okay, is going to be your beginning balance minus only the principal, not the payment. Okay?
Oh yeah.
All right? Everybody matching up? Okay. Now, you need to do that 120 more times. Okay. We're going to show you how to copy and paste. Okay, what Frederick?
On the ending balance, it's the loan amount minus the principal?
It's the beginning balance minus the principal. You need to make sure you're capturing this cell, because that cell is going to change as we go down. Okay? All right? Okay. So, over here, now, Laura?
What's the formula for principal?
The principal is simply your payment minus your interest. In other words, you make your monthly payment, we've already calculated what your interest is, so whatever's left over is the principal portion. Okay, now then, here's the way I do this. Everybody has a different way of doing this, okay? What I do for the next period is I hit plus, and then the period right above it, plus 1. And what will happen as we copy down the page, it will effectively just keep increasing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so forth, so on. Okay? As I said, there's more than one way to do it. Okay? Everybody has a different way that can work for them. The way that I choose to do it is this way. All right? The beginning balance, what you're going to do is plus the ending balance. Okay? So in other words, all you're doing is you're taking cell F7. Okay? Once you've got it, hit enter. Okay? Now, your payment for this particular loan, it's okay because this is going to stay constant. Okay? In other words, this amount is not going to change all the way down. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Now, there are several ways to do this. The way that I choose to do it is to cell reference the payment amount with what is called a static cell reference. Okay? What that boils down to is you hit equal, you go up here, you grab that cell. Once you've got it, to make it a static cell reference that does not change, you put a $sign in front of the B, a $sign in front of the 4. What that is doing is that is holding constant that cell reference so that whenever you copy it down, it won't be trying to drag it from other places. It will keep it fixated on that one spot, and that is called a static cell reference. A dynamic cell reference is like the one that we've sort of got over here, which as we copy it down, it's going to change. Okay?
Got it.
Okay, the interest. The way I choose to do this is to, once again, go over, we get our beginning balance, we multiply it by, open parentheses, our interest rate divided by 12. However, if we were to copy that down the page, what would happen is this would copy, appropriately in this column, but what it would be trying to do is then it would be going down the page to try to get the interest rate from here, then here, then here, then here, which is not going to work. So what we have to do is keep this one dynamic,
Make all those stuff.
and then make this one static.
Got it.
Oh, yes. So you go in, put the $signs there. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Equal BA times, open parentheses, $sign B, $sign 2, divided by 12, close parentheses. Okay? And make it
The
all,
logic behind that again, what's the purpose of doing that?
okay. The logic behind which part? This.
Just all the little signs you put in there.
Okay, so in this particular case, we're going to be pulling from the beginning balance. That number, as we go down the sheet, is going to change.
Okay.
So we keep it where, as a
Right.
dynamic reference, where we don't have to keep it fixed in place. The B2, which is the interest rate, we want it always to be pulling just from that cell only. Therefore, in order to fix it in location, we put those dollar signs in front of it, and that holds it firm. Okay? All right?
Just a quick
Yep.
question. If you only left the dollar sign in front of the B, would it stay in row B but continue to move
Yes.
down?
Yes.
Okay.
The question that Robert had is a good one. I didn't want to confuse the issue, but if you had put a dollar sign, you don't need to, but if you put a dollar sign in front of the B, it would keep it in column B, but it would still allow the number to change.
Okay.
Or we could do it just the opposite. If you had put no dollar sign in front of the B, but a dollar sign in front of the A, it would have kept it constant, which we don't want to do.
Rows. Gotcha.
All the way down.
Oh,
Okay.
But the dollar in front of the B is fine to do.
The dollar from the B is fine to do in that particular instance. You don't need to. Okay,
Okay.
principal. This one is just simply, once again, the payment minus the interest, and this one we can leave as dynamic. We don't have to do anything weird to it one, to this one, okay? All right, you can leave it just as it is. Okay? And then the ending balance equal beginning balance minus
Principal.
principal. Okay, if everybody matches up to that point, we are good to go to just copy down.
Good to drag and drop.
Okay, so what I choose to do is as follows. I would highlight line 2. Once I have that highlighted, then I would take over here on the bottom corner and then drag it down. In this case, since it's a, what was a 120-month loan, drag it to about 125 or so. Okay, and maybe to increase the width of the cells there. But what you should see is, okay, here at month 120, the loan balance becomes 0. Okay, now what this also, and if we want to, just to clean this up, I'm gonna get rid of that month 121, just so it doesn't, we don't need it. But what we can now do is we can go over here and specifically beginning with the payment column, we could do equal, sum to add up that entire column. And I'll just give you the cell references so you don't have to necessarily go through and do what I'm doing here. All right, in other words, if you go in and you type equal sum C7 colon C126, all that's going to do is it's going to highlight and add up that entire column. So your total amount of payments that you have made on this loan equal $127,278.62. Okay?
It's like fun.
Okay. All right. Now, what we can do to save ourselves a little bit of time is once you've got that in correctly, grab a hold of the bottom corner of that, drag it over 2 cells. And now what you've got is the separation of, this is the total payments, this is the total interest, and then this is the total principal. Make sense? And obviously, if you add those two together, the principal and the interest, you get your total payments. Okay? Okay?
I'm a few bucks off.
You're a few bucks off? Well,
I don't know why.
when you say you're a few bucks off, how many bucks off?
2,000.
Yeah, I know. We spent years.
I know. That'd be weird. Look at me, man. I got a pen, I got a paper. That's it. It works just as good,
Let's do it.
Oh, you
You wanna bring it to this one?
So that it just keeps adding on.
Yeah.
Actually, let me do this. You,
Payment, you're gonna do
can you see where your numbers are stopping to match? Let's start at, I think it was at 25. Are you matching at month 25?
Oh, you're,
Okay, go to month 25. Are you matching the balance at month 25?
so equals E8,
Yep.
which is.
Okay, are you matching at month 50?
Times, star, parentheses.
In the end of the,
yeah, imagine there as well.
And then
okay, are you, this is weird. Okay, are you matching at month 80?
divided by 12, but because the interior is
Okay, imagine at month 100.
you have to make it stop again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're not matching at month 120.
So then
Imagine there too.
But you're not, but what you're not matching though is on the bottom with regard to the actual principal. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at your,
Yeah, take a look later, that's fine.
yeah, I don't know, there's gotta be some minor thing that that you didn't put in quite right. Okay, so assuming that you've got all of this, all right, so this is a very basic amortization schedule for a traditional, normal, fixed-rate mortgage for 10-year period. Now, if side by side to this, we wanted to look at a constant amortization mortgage, okay, let's do that. All right. We're going to do this just sort of side by side. I'm going to do the beginning balance, payment, the interest, principal, and then ending balance. And this is going to be, as I said, for a constant okay, so our balance is going to be the same, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that from over here, make that 100,000. All right, now.
Did you pull that from the top?
Yeah, you can pull it from either one.
Okay.
Yeah, that one is not going to matter. All right, so we got the 100,000. Now, to get our first the payment of principal, what we're gonna do is, this requires a little bit of different logic. Because with the constant amortization mortgage, everything stems from the beginning balance and then the term, okay? So what you've got to do to calculate your principal is you're going to do equal beginning balance divided by your term, which is going to be 10 years times 12.
Is it, sorry, it's just all I've heard for a reason.
Okay, let me hold on, let me blow it up.
Can you turn off the light, maybe?
Hold on a second. Zoom. Okay, better?
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right, so that is the principal portion. 833.33.
Wait, I know you just zoomed in, but I can't see the rest of the side of it. Right?
Okay.
Can you zoom back out?
What do you
I
need?
can't see the B3, where, because my cells are different from yours.
That's probably the reason why you're off, because you're probably referencing a cell that's not supposed to be referenced. B3 is going to be your term. So it should be the 10.
Right.
Okay? All right. So there is our principal and our term. Now, the interesting thing about this is we can actually, without knowing what our actual payment and our interest is, we can go ahead and calculate our ending balance. Okay, well, yes, we can, because it's only the principal portion. So we take the beginning balance, subtract out the principal, and then boom, we got our ending balance for that month. All right? Now, for the payment and the interest, we have to basically, we reverse engineer it. Okay? We start out with the interest. To get the interest calculation for that month, we do equal, take our beginning balance, and we multiply it by open parentheses, and then we go over, we capture our interest rate, which is 5% divided by 12. So what you should see is this, H7 times B2 divided by 12. Okay? And then to get the payment, all you're going to do is you're going to add the interest plus the principal together. Okay? Okay, so once again, the interest, H7 times B2 divided by 12, and the payment is simply adding the interest and the principal together, so J7 plus K7, and so there's our payment of $12.50 that we had found. Yep, Frederick?
Sorry, sir. Principal and interest became the same thing, right? 833, 33, 33 when I did that.
When you did what?
8.7 times open parentheses B3. Oh,
It's B2.
B2.
Okay. All right, so once we get that first line, all right, now what we can do is determine, okay, if we can just sort of copy down the page, or we've got to do something weird, but more than likely it's probably just going to be easier for us to sort of kind of do what we did before. So to get the beginning balance for that second month, we go over and get the ending balance here. Okay. Now, our payment we're gonna keep that constant of the principal, or the interest plus the principal. So right now it's going, obviously it'll be 0. The interest, we can actually, if we go in, if we make the B2 a static cell reference, we can just copy it down. And then the principal, we need to make the B3 a static cell reference. We copy it down. Whoops. Ah. Crap. Where's it? Undo.
Wait.
Not Daryl.
I do not like the way this version works. Where's the?
Just hit the arrow at the top left.
There we go.
Oh.
Okay. Get that back where it was.
So
Nope,
what part
nope,
of that?
nope, we don't want that. Okay. So on this one, what we want on the principal is we want it to stay constant. So we are going to actually just make that whole thing a static cell reference. Okay, and then our ending balance, we should just be able to copy that down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
hold on just a second, just making sure. Okay. Totals plus, there we go. Okay, so we'll start over here with the second row, column H. Okay, it is simply equal L7. Okay. Column I is simply J8 plus K8. Okay. Column J
It's 0.
well, you're going to get 0 until you fill in the other cells. Okay.
J8 plus.
All right. So column J is going to be equal H8 times open parentheses $B $2 divided by 12 close parentheses is your interest. And then the principal equal $H $7 divided by open parentheses $B $3 times 12 close parentheses. And we have to make that a fixed cell reference because with the constant amortization mortgage, the principal needs to remain constant based off of the original beginning loan amount. Okay? And then our ending balance is simply our beginning balance minus our principal. Okay, once you've got those correct, we should be able to now take line 2 and do the same thing, drag it all the way down. Okay. Once you've got that, now what you should be able to do is basically copy and then paste in. Oops, there we go. All right. All right, and total payments, total interest, and then total principal. Okay? And so now we should be able to kind of basically compare side by side the two different types of loans. We just do a view, zoom to selection. Okay? All right, that Okay, so what do we see? With the, this is what I basically said to you. With the traditional mortgage, we pay a little bit more in total payments, a little bit more in total interest than we do with the constant amortization mortgage, but the difference on this particular loan at this particular interest rate, not that dramatic of a difference. I mean, a couple $1,000s over the case of, or over the course of 10 years. Okay, Justin?
Can you go back to the cell on 8, I-8? Just double click it for me. Okay.
All right. Okay. Is everybody matching up?
No, not yet.
Okay. So here's kind of an interesting thing, is you can sort of see, if you sort of scroll down and kind of see what I was saying about the actual payment amount, that with the constant amortization mortgage, you start out with the monthly payment of $1,250, whereas the traditional mortgage, we start out at $1,060, but as you can see over time, the constant amortization mortgage gets less and less and less and less, whereby literally your very last payment of $836.81 is, dramatically less, or significantly less anyway, than the traditional mortgage of $1,060. Okay. Now, one of the more interesting things, and this, let me try to pull this up.
What's the other one called? The constant what mortgage?
Constant amortization mortgage.
No, the other one. The original.
The traditional mortgage.
That's just what you call
Or
it.
constant payment mortgage.
Constant payment.
Okay, so let's do this.
It's all there? Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so a couple of things that'd be kind of interesting to take a look at is that, let's say after 5 years with both loans, let's go down to like month 60 here, and you can begin to see kind of, the impact that with the traditional mortgage, your balance has gone down from where it was $100,000 down to $56,000, whereas with the constant amortization mortgage, you've paid off significantly more principal faster. Okay, so from that standpoint, if you're selling the property, at least you would be able to walk away with more of the proceeds, but you've also contributed more in by virtue of the higher payments. Okay, make sense? Okay, any questions? All right, so let's do this. Okay, everybody caught up now?
Wait 1 second. Can you go to the bottom real quick? Just so I can-
What number they write, but first table?
The first table, what is that considered? I know the one on the right is a constant amortization.
Just constant payment mortgage,
On the left would be the
constant payment mortgage, or you can also call it just the traditional mortgage.
traditional.
Okay, okay, thanks.
All right. Now, here would be kind of the interesting thing to sort of do, to see, well, what about a change in interest rates? How much of an impact is that going to have on us and that sort of thing? See if that really makes that much of a difference or not. So let's just say that we go up to the top. This is a good way to also test your model to see if everything's working right. And we change the interest rate from 5% to 10%. Okay, and then we go back down to the bottom after having done that, and then just to see how much of a difference it makes, if that much. So we still have, looks like we have about $8,000 difference as opposed to previously we had what was like $2,000 or $3,000 difference in the total amount being paid. So it's still not crazy dramatic, in terms of the amount of interest, but there is obviously a difference. Okay.
I guess in a 30-year, it'll really make it.
It does. It makes a difference. Yeah. And you know, and we can obviously extend the model real easily and see that. Okay, so actually that brings up, so Mark wants us to change the model real quick.
Thanks,
All
Mark.
So do this, okay? Basically, we can do this a couple different ways. I am going to just go ahead and delete those calculations here for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and I'm going to capture line 120, and I'm going to drag it down to about 370 or so. Okay?
You just double click it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, double click.
Yeah. All right. Now, let's go back up to the top and change this from a 10-year loan to a 30-year loan. Okay. And so now we've extended it down to a 30-year mortgage.
You just copied the last line? I missed that part.
Yep. Copied it just straight down to like month 367 or well, month 360 actually, but okay. All you have to do is just highlight the very last line and then just drag down.
Highlight like the one you said.
Yeah, it's gonna be a negative number, but then you're gonna send them all.
Well, you got to change the term.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so now after putting the sums back in there at the bottom of total payments, total interest, and total principal, what Dustin was saying is absolutely true. Is, I mean, obviously because it's over a longer period of time, you're going to have a significantly larger difference in the total interest paid between the two. So now with a 30-year mortgage, the constant amortization mortgage looks to be a lot better because obviously, as you can see, that you're paying $215,000 over here in the traditional mortgage with interest. Over here, you're paying $150,000. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
So always go for the constant.
Well, no. I mean, in this case, that's what the constant is the one with more interest. So you're going to go with oh, I'm sorry. The constant payment mortgage is the constant payment mortgage is the one with more interest. The constant amortization mortgage is the one with the less interest. Okay, but a lot of lenders won't even do the constant. That you can create your own constant amortization mortgage by just simply calculating what is that dollar amount, and this kind of gets back to what Dustin had asked early on, you know, of what is the impact if I make an extra principal payment, you know, over the course of a year and that sort of thing. Here, we're effectively adding to our monthly mortgage payment that additional dollar amount of principal, and it is, in essence, it is reducing our total principal.
Yeah.
Okay, make sense? Yes? Okay. Okay. Are we ready to make this a little bit more complicated?
Oh,
No.
Yes, we are.
let's do it.
Are we using this now or what we had before? Because I lost you on this.
Okay, where did you lose me?
I.
He
it
changed, he
looks
changed the rate and the term.
like- Yeah, I got that.
Okay, so if you go up to the top, just make sure that we're matching on this. The rate is 10% and the term is now 30 years.
Yes.
Okay. And the only thing that I did was at the end of month 120, all you had to do was highlight that row, if you had everything else correct, and then just drag down, and then it should,
Get to 366.
right.
He wants
I
to do
have
that?
that, but my sums aren't. They weren't.
Well, it's possible what you may need to do, well, yeah, your sums are not gonna be right because you've gotta go back up and you've gotta put them in according to, hold on, let me just tell you what the value should be. And I think this actually may be where Anthony's thing may have been wrong as well, is
What's that?
So-
it's gonna be cell C7 to cell 366. Is that what yours has?
Probably not.
Is it colon?
Colon, yeah.
Can you just do sum up?
No, not colon now.
Of course you can.
The other one.
He wants to do sum
Yeah.
up.
But you have to
Wait, what is that?
Sum up is a way to calculate everything above.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I've been going like, and it's taking forever. So how do you do that? I'm like, there's gotta be a quicker way.
And that's why those totals are off.
Like, he wants to do it because you want to the house is that he wants to drag all the way down.
Yeah, you want me to drag all the way down? Okay.
But then I'll be like, oh.
Okay.
Keep it right there.
Everybody get to that point, or this
Oh,
point.
thank you. That's so much easier. Dang, it was
Sorry, what are we dragging, say one more time?
oh my god.
Drag and drop.
You're gonna start with row 120, or highlight it all the way across, and then just pull down
Well, the
So what?
issue with
to 366.
All right.
Okay, so, once we've got this, what we're able to now do is incorporate some of the more fun stuff, okay? And begin to turn this into more of a, what I like to call the mortgage monster model, okay? And what we can do is we can now begin to incorporate into this loan origination fees, prepayment penalties. What else? Administrative fees, and one more.
Discount point.
No, adjustable rate mortgage. All right, all into this one model. Okay, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
Okay. So, all right. So let's start with the simple pieces. And you know what else we can put in here?
What?
Lender participation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, all right, let's start with the simplest, which is going to be, let's put in the additional payment component for a moment.
Okay.
Okay? So let's say we want administrative fee. And we're gonna make this on a monthly basis, so we say $50 a month is what we want to insert. Okay, and I'm gonna, once again, go ahead and, as I tend to do, clean this up a little bit by making it a dollar amount. Okay, and we'll go ahead and right underneath that, we'll put in loan origination. And we'll make that 3%. And clean that up, I'm making it a percent. And then right underneath that, prepayment. Or prepay fee, how's that? And we'll make that 5%. Okay, all right. So the question is, how do we go about incorporating those three pieces into this model? Okay? Because what it pretty much is going to boil down to is you're going to start to you're going to insert, create some new columns, and then have to make some adjustments to the quote-unquote cash flows, kind of from the perspective of the lender, and so you're going to start thinking about how you're going to accomplish this. The easy ones are going to be the admin fee and the loan origination fee. The difficult one is the prepayment fee, because you also have to figure out what month it's going to prepay. So put prepay month. And we'll say month 60. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Click on column G. We're going to insert some columns here. All right. You can do it a lot of different ways. This is the way I just kind of choose to do it. Over here to insert, and we should be able to do, where is the insert columns? And let's insert cells. This version of Excel.
Just right click on G and press insert.
Yeah.
It'll just give you one though. You probably want more than that.
It is. I have spark lines. To the right, to the right. No, it's still on insert. Go to the right, to the right. There you go. Next one. That's the one you wanted?
No, that's something. That's something else.
Just right click on G.
Right click and press enter.
Right click, insert.
Bang.
Well, this version of Excel is not as much fun as the old version. Okay, insert. Whoops. Ah. Okay. Let's get a few of them in there. Okay.
How many should we?
Oh, 4 should be enough for the moment. Okay.
Hey,
So-
just a quick note. It would have did it on the insert cell one. You just got to tell it how many and what to do.
This is one of the things, I mean, and I know everybody has different frustrations with things. It's like every version of Excel, they change things up just enough to kind of sometimes make things frustrating.
Make you buy a new one.
And it's frustrating enough because it's like you get used to a certain way to do things, and then all of a sudden it's all changed again. So anyway, all right. Once you get the columns inserted, then what we're going to do is as follows. What we want to do is, first of all, go in and create a column for the admin fee. And we're going to drag that down.
Is that a plus sign or?
Yes, either one will work on this particular case, or both. Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. Okay, scratch that. Nope, I'm going to make it easier for you. Okay, we're going to do it as follows. We're going to do cash flows. So go up here, column G, and do cash flows. All right. So in month 1, our cash flow is going to be to the lender. This is the payment plus the admin fee. Okay, everybody see that?
Yeah.
So you should get $927.57. Everybody match that?
Yeah.
Okay, once again, cell C7, which is the payment amount, plus E1, which is your admin fee. Okay? That should be $927.57. All right? Now what you can do is we want to make the E1 a static cell reference that we can copy down. and we want to leave the C7 the way it is. Okay? All right, once you've got that, then go drag the bottom right-hand corner all the way down.
The payment isn't changing when you make that static too, or?
Well, the payment, if the payment were to change, which it will when we do the adjustable rate portion of it, it will change. Right now, it's the same. Okay? Okay. Now, these are the monthly cash flows from this loan, correct? Just like we had put in on the calculator, you know, number of months for this particular payment amount. Okay? Now, initially, we have a cash outflow from the lender's perspective, which is going to be the loan amount, correct? But we also have to subtract out the loan origination fees, right? So what I did was equal negative B1, which gets us our loan amount, times, open parentheses, B1, or excuse me, loan origination of 3%. Let me think, hold on one second.
No, it's B1 minus.
Yeah, B1, I didn't do B1 minus. Times B1 times, oops, that's not right.
Isn't it
Hold on.
negative B1 plus B1?
Yeah. Just a second. Let me start out. I'm getting myself confused here. Okay, I want it to be 3,000. All right, and what I want is B1 B1 minus, and I actually want to be plus. Ah!
Hold up.
There we go. And we actually want that to all be negative. And
Now hold that open.
there we go. Okay, here's what you have to do. My brain is starting to slow down, sorry. Okay, so it's going to be negative equal negative B1 plus, open parentheses, B1 times E2, close parentheses. So all we're doing is we're saying we've got a loan amount, and then we're subtracting out the $3,000 of loan origination fees, or 3% in this case.
Got it.
All right, so that should give us the negative 97,000 that we want as our initial cash
Can you
flow.
open it up one more time?
Okay.
Makes sense.
What could be easy too, I guess, is like you just figure out in another cell what's that fee, and then subtract the loan amount from that fee. Like what do you?
Well, okay, but that's assuming that your loan amount's not going to change.
Yeah.
We're setting this up to where we're going to be able to change every single period's interest rate. Trust me on this.
Yeah, you want to reference things so you can move stuff.
No, I
Okay.
mean, even if you can still do it like that, but have like a separate cell with whatever that is. You know, in other words, what the origination fee is based on that reference. You don't hard code it, but you just reference it.
Yeah, well, we're not hard coding it here.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's exactly what you're talking about.
In another way.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's move forward. Now, first of all, let's go down to month 60 here for a second.
Which one, 60 you said?
Month 60. Okay, this is where our prepayment is occurring. Okay, now, this is where it begins to get tricky, okay? What we need to do is we need to calculate the loan balance literally, which we've already got, we're over here. We need to calculate that and then apply effectively the penalty, okay? So what this cell is going to look like,
You're on 66.
well, we're on
Month 60. though.
month 60,
G60.
G6 though.
okay?
Well, no, it's G6.
No, it's G66, month 60,
Month 60.
okay? All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go over here and you're going to take the 956, 574, multiply that by 1 plus your prepayment penalty, which is go up and we'll capture that, 5%. All right, and that would be the payoff amount plus the prepayment penalty, but we also have occurring in there is our final payment amount of the $877.57 plus the $50 loan origination fee, or not loan origination, $50 loan administrative fee. Okay? So our total amount of payoff would be $102,330.61. Don't worry, for the most part, about getting this one correct because we're going to modify it. Okay? Right now, I just want you to see if you can get that far. Now, what we're going to do to sort of show you the logic behind this is we're going to calculate the internal rate of return. And what we're going to do is we're going to start up with column or cell G6, and then copy down to month 60. If I can get it to not go so fast. There we go. And see if that will work for us. Okay. And it gives us like 1%, which is the monthly. We need to multiply it by 12 to get annual. And we need to increase. Okay. So, all right, let me explain what I have done. This'll, just hold on. What we're doing is the same calculation that we have done before, which is simply to say, looking at this kind of from a lender's yield perspective. And this final cell, or the month payoff of month 60, we are simply combining the outstanding balance, we're combining our last payment, we're combining that $50 administrative fee, and the 5% prepayment penalty into this number, okay? Then all we are doing is we are taking and we are calculating the internal rate of return for that series of cash flows, starting with the negative 97,000 down to here. And so it's telling us, okay, with that loan origination fee, with that administrative fee, with that prepayment penalty, we are sitting at now a 12.14% rate of return, or effective cost of borrowing, or lender's yield, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, the part that gets tricky is what we have to do is we're going to have to set this up to where this is going to allow us to calculate the internal rate of return for any month that we choose to put in here as our prepayment month. And so we're going to be using a couple of different features in Excel, the index function along with if-then statements, to be able to allow us to do that. Nothing overly complicated, but once we sort of get it set up, you're going to love this, because this will then do pretty much any of those sort of mortgage computation problems in an instant. Okay? Make sense? All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick 30-minute break for lunch. It is 12:20. Come back at 10 till, and then we're gonna finish this up. Yep.
Can we just get like 10 more minutes?
Yeah, maybe like a 40-minute would be.
Like 40 minutes, because it's hard to, we sit down at that place that we all like to go to, get back in 30.
We do usually get back when we're running.
Yeah.
Like 10 more minutes would just
40
mean a
minutes
world.
would make a world.
We roughed this
It
out.
would.
I will start class at 5 till.
Compromise. So we got a 2-minute mark. Yeah.
That's something.
You have 61.
Dr. Ford, can you go back to the, can you go down to the cell where 60, 160?
Okay. You didn't get 60.
All right, that one did.
And what is
How you doing over there?
Can you leave it like that for a second?
Yeah, we eat.
Come on, here. Come on.
Wish we'd have set it up, so.
Dr. Ford, you going to lunch?
I'll get some water.
Okay. Show me. I'm still too. Dragging before you even change the room. I got the wrong side of myself. I'll be at the back.
Okay, okay. All right.
You have a Gmail, right? Okay, so I'll do it tomorrow night.
Oh, I know what it is.
I know, right?
It's because it's supposed to be 74.22. I mean, .30.
Green fry?
Yeah. You must have not, you don't even have to like bring down all that crap, some. You know what I'm talking about? It's easier, you know how we had to copy all of it, get the sum or whatever?
Yeah.
It's just better to hit equal all those.
Okay, so,
Because it'll be a not that. Yeah.
So you're saying,
so this is the,
Before we can change.
Y'all on that.
basically,
That was fun.
yeah, I'm just
Perfect.
so this is going to reduce, right?
Right.
So you gotta make this constant,
Moving too quick.
right?
And working on a laptop without a mouse sucks.
Oh, yeah, I know, it does.
And then, once you pull this down, you'll see that that'll change.
Okay.
Okay? And then this is going to, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's going to remain the same. And then, so if I can get you to put it there, and you just pull it down. And obviously, I clean it up so that.
Yeah.
So the thought is just, I mean, this beginning balance is always referenced into this ending balance here. And then the principal amount, because it's a constant payment mortgage, this always remains the same.
Right.
So what it's saying is because that's remaining the same, and the balance is going down, then the interest applied to that amount is always going to be less.
Right.
So that's going down, going down, going down, so then the payment is going to be less because the principal plus that lesser interest payment is going to be less. And
So I just didn't know, I had to make this a constant. Which one? That's where I got stuck at.
Wait, which one? No, this doesn't need to be a constant because this changes with this interest and principal payment every time.
Okay.
Okay? This needs to be a constant, a part of it because the interest is always applied
Which part
to
inside the
this.
parentheses? Okay.
Right, because this cell here, 5%, it's always applied to this. If you don't make that, then it's gonna come down here. You
Gotcha.
start capturing these cells, right?
Yeah.
And then on this one, you gotta make, the principal, because it's this amount times 12, right?
Right. That's where I was. Right. So now I can just go ahead and do all that
Yeah.
and then go ahead and change the term directly.
You got it.
Thanks,
Hey,
man.
man.
Very good.
You know, I needed to talk with you, but probably after class. Let me go grab something to eat before.
Okay.
before I run out of time.
But Dr. Porter, when I'm trying to drag it, it just does not capture. It starts trickling down as if you did it. Is it because I release it too soon?